Let's say you've rolled over your 401k to an IRA, and now you realize, wait, I need money and I'm not 59 and a half yet. Because let's just take this a step back for a second. Let's talk through a couple ways that you can withdraw money in the retirement years without having any sort of early withdrawal penalty. If you retire in the year that you turn 55, there's the rule of 55 with your 401k. Leave it in the 401k. You have the ability to draw from that until you're 59 and a half with no issues, no early withdrawal penalty, as long as your 401k plan allows for that. Now let's talk about maybe you created a bridge account. So you could create the bridge account or the taxable account. So that could allow you to just withdraw from that, not have to worry about any sort of way of accessing money before 59 and a half and paying the 10% early withdrawal penalty. There's tons of other options out there, but what ends up happening if, let's just say that you retire in your early 50s, well, guess what? You're not 55 yet. Rule of 55 doesn't work for you. You have the ability to roll your money out of a 401k, put it in an IRA, and then you could do the 72T that the IRS puts into place. And bear with me on this because it's quite confusing, and I'm going to really just break it down and go through everything here because we actually just did this with a client, and it's not something even common as advisors for us to consistently do. So I wanted to take what I did and what I talked through with the client to make sure that I'm going through that with you as well, so that if you're experiencing this situation, you have an option. And so first, let's just take a look here at the IRS website directly, and we'll walk through it. And what it is the 72T rule is called Substantially Equally Periodic Payments. SEPP is what they shorten it up there for, Section 72T. And so there's an additional early tax on distributions from pre-tax IRA accounts of 10% if you're under the age of 59 and a half. But this is a way around that. So this is the option there. And the way it works is they have what's called the required minimum distribution method. That's one of the ways they can account for it. They have the fixed amortization method and the fixed annuitization method. These are three different ways you're able to withdraw from this. And there's a calculation here. I'll show you all of that. Don't get too confused or caught up on it because you're like, well, what does that even mean? I'll show you the different ways that that works and how all that gets broken down in a minute. And so then let's go through how are interest rates determined. Well, when we're doing withdrawals, so let me just show you this on this calculator real quick. So you have a reasonable interest rate. And so what the interest rate is something that you have to calculate in when you're doing withdrawals. So the interest rate is determined here. It says 5% is the interest rate, or 120% of the federal midterm rate published in the IRS revenue rulings. And so the 5.4 is generally what the max is right this second. I personally am leaning on the 5. I'd rather just like, hey, let's be conservative with this. Let's stick with the 5 because it's not more than the greater of 5% or that 120% ruling. Life expectancy, how is that determined? If you're going with the RMD method, you're going to use the life expectancy based on all of the different tables that they give you. That will depend on if you're a uniform lifetime table, the single life filer, or you're doing it as a joint with a survivor table. So that's going to change the calculation a bit. But again, down here, you can see in this calculator, it actually gives us those options to help solve for that as well. Then from there, how is the account balance determined? So that's something we really have to be careful with because it's actually going to look at the account balance here and what you have. It's generally equal to the account balance as of the end of the prior calendar year. That's what we're talking about with RMDs. Even once you get to the age where you're having to take RMDs, that's what you're looking at as well. So this gets a little bit confusing though, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I solve for this. So for the purposes of the fixed amortization and the annuitization method, the account balances should be determined in a reasonable manner based on the facts and circumstances. What in the heck does that mean? Well, so you've got, for example, taxpayer determines the account balance as the account balance of the last statement of the prior calendar year, any contributions or forfeitures allocated. Well, what if there's any growth? What if all these things are going on? There's a lot of mess. And so I found a really easy way to solidify everything is to start a new IRA account. The reason for that is, let's just say that you have $1 million. Well, if you have $1 million and you only need, 20 grand, well, guess what? If you do the 5% method that they're working on over here in this calculator, you're going to get a lot more than the $20,000 you need in the first place. So what we can do is we can solve for everything by saying, well, hey, I need 20 grand. And what we can do is take the account balance, the reasonable interest rate, figure out how we're going to get the $20,000. We take the $1 million here, and the $1 million, we're just going to create a separate IRA account. and we're going to move whatever we need to fix this or create the calculation and the actual payment method. We're just going to take the million, split it up, put that into the IRA. For our client, we called it the 72T IRA. So we took the exact amount they needed out of their IRA account, moved it to the 72T, and you have a clean slate, a fresh start, and it shows you everything that you need there. So there's no questions of, well, maybe you took money out, maybe you added money in, or anything else. What it also allows us for us to do is it allows us to now have a separate IRA account that you could also use for another option with the 72T. Because with the 72T, the way this works is it's per account. So we have some liquidity over here. If you say, hey, you know what, I'm running a little tight on money, I have a whole nother option. So that's just kind of how we saw for this. You may have another option there that you're thinking through, but that's what we were looking at there. Then we look at how is the annual amount determined? Just what we talked about a minute ago. We have the RMD, the fixed amortization, the fixed annuitization. Can you split the payments? This was a question that comes up because this client was looking for, well, how am I going to do it? You can do annual, quarterly, or monthly installments per the IRS there. So that solves for that. Also, a real big question and something that we just ran into with our client specifically was, well, wait, we are going to take this starting later in the year. We're not doing it, at the beginning in January, and we're going to do monthly installments. Everything we could find shows that it looks like you can actually adjust it for the first year as long as it still equals the total payment. So if you need $20,000, you make the adjustments there for that first year. Let's say we're in August as this video is being made. So you have 5 months remaining for the rest of the year. So you're just going to stagger that out and make sure that you have that to equal the $20,000 at the end of this year. And then next year, you take your monthly payments, if it's $20,000 divided by 12, and you build that out there. What happens if they modify it? So this one's really tricky. So technically, you can't modify. The RMD option does allow for some modification there one time per the IRS there. There's a lot that's going on here. And one really big factor that you've got to account for and think through is you have to continue to take these dollars. So let's say you're 50 years old. You have to take it until 59 and a half, no matter what. Or if you're 57 years old and you start taking it, well, you have to take it for at least 5 years, no matter what. It's 59 and a half or 5 years, whatever is longer there. So that's what you have to figure through on that and way that works. So that's kind of the base breakdown, but let me go over here to this calculator to just kind of show you how this works as well. Dinkytown, it's funny because this little funky website, if you go to load any of the calculators anywhere out there that I found, they all used actually Dinkytown as their option there for you. So if, let's just say that you have $100,000 in your IRA. As we had talked about, we're going to say that you do 5%. Let's just say you are 50 years old. Beneficiary age, again, if you are doing single life expectancy, it doesn't matter. But if you're doing joint life expectancy, watch this here, the 6,031.22. If you do joint life expectancy and your beneficiary age is 45, whoever it is there, then look at that. It changes there, 5,930. So be careful on how you're wanting to calculate this so that if anything comes up with the IRS, you've got some options here and you can say exactly what you did on how you calculated everything. From there, remember you have the 3 different options: the required minimum distribution, fixed amortization, fixed annuitization. So you have different ways that this is going to run to be able to give you the play out here. This breaks everything down for you on what you're looking at. You can do a report, and the report's going to show you, okay, well, what if you took it at a 1.25% rate, 2.5%, 5% rate, your age, your life expectancy when it comes to the RMDs, everything there. So this is the fixed amortization method used there is what it's giving me. So it really just depends on what you're wanting, what you're looking for there, and as far as the breakdown. So a lot of stuff that I just wanted to teach on and go through with this just to help you to get a good concept and understand it. If you have questions, I would always say to go to a CPA, talk with them, really work through that. I know this was a bit longer of a FinTip video for you, but if you're watching this, maybe there's something that I did not mention in it. Be sure to list that in the comments so that everybody else can learn from this. And hopefully, if you go to do it, that you have all the info now that you need.